Hi everybody, it's Elaine here, and this video, which will take about 12 minutes, is going to tell you everything you need to know to be able to use Libby so that you can borrow digital books from the Yachats Public Library. So to get started, the first thing you have to do is go to the public library and get a PIN activated. Your PIN number will be the same as your library card number, but they do have to activate it with the Libby system before you begin to use it. While you're waiting for your PIN to be activated, the next thing you can do is you can download two apps that you'll need. Maybe it's only one, depends on what device you're using, but for sure you're going to need to download the Libby app. The second app that you'll have to download will be the Kindle app, unless you're actually reading on a Kindle. But if you're reading on an iPhone or an iPad, you're going to need to download the Kindle app. The way that you find an app is you go to the magnifying glass in the App Store, whether it's the Apple App Store or Google Play or whatever. You do a search and you just type in Libby. And once you find it, there's a little cloud with a down arrow, at least there is on my device, which is an iPad, and you push that and you're going to have the app downloaded onto your device. So now it shows that Libby is on my device. So I'm going to open it up. And it says, do you have a library card? And I'm going to say yes. And I am going to search for a library. And the library name, I can either put in Yachats or I can type in our zip code. But if I put in Yachats, I started typing in Yachats, I'm going to see Oregon Digital Library Consortium, Yachats Public Library. I'm just going to touch that, select that, and then I'm going to sign in with my card. And so you'll see it lists a couple of other libraries that are all part of this Oregon consortium. I'm going to touch Yachats Public Library. Now, when I say touch, if you don't have a touch screen, obviously you're just going to be using your select key to select that. So now I'm going to put in my card number. And my card number and my PIN, again, are the same. And it says, okay, you're signed in. Here's your library card. I'm going to go next. And then it says, if you prefer to read with Kindle, we can open books directly. Yes, I do want to read with Kindle. That's definitely the best way to read. It's a great app. And now here I am at the Library to Go Oregon Digital Library Consortium. So I just want to say that Libby is basically library, okay? So when you're thinking about where do you go to the library? Libby Library. Where are you going to read? Well, you read on your Kindle. So that's why you need two apps. This is the app where you borrow books, return books, search for books, and the Kindle app is where the books go after you've checked them out. So there are a bunch of icons on the bottom of the screen, and if I want to search for a specific book, I can touch that icon that looks like the magnifying glass. Let's suppose I want to search for Harry Potter. There is Harry Potter. You will see that all of these books say place hold, place sample, or tag. That's because none of these books are available right now because they're very popular still. If you want to see how long it will take to get the hold, you touch the little calendar and it says there are 10 copies, 182 people are waiting, 18 people per copy. You know, maybe I don't need to borrow a Harry Potter book. However, I do want to say that if you look down here and you see this little earbud earphone looking symbol and it says 9 hours, 21 hours, 19 hours, 27 hours, that refers to the fact that these are audiobooks and that's how long they last. If you look underneath and you don't see the little earbuds or whatever, it's an ebook. Okay, so that's one thing that you need to know. You can either borrow audiobooks or ebooks. All right, so let's suppose I want to go back to the home page. That's the second icon over here. It looks like a house. That's home, okay? So suppose I want to just say, what's popular? I just want to take a look at popular books. Wow, they've got all these different books that are popular. But how about if I refine my search? Well, what's format say? I don't want an audiobook. I just want a regular book, so I'm going to push that. Let's hit refine again. Subject, I really like literature. I'm going to select that. Refine again. Language, I only speak English. There we go. Not proud of that, but audience, general content, mature content. I'm just going to go with general content. Let's hit refine again. Supports, I really like Kindle books, so I'm going to limit it that way. Availability, available now. I want a book to read today. And finally, sort by popularity. I like that because the things that are the most popular are probably the best things to read. Now look at all the great books that are here. I've actually read a bunch of these books and they were wonderful. And so they're all available right now. And let's suppose I want to check one out. Let's suppose I want to read this Matt Haig book, The Midnight Library. That's a very appropriate one. Well, first of all, if I tap the picture of the book, I can read a short summary of the book. I could even read a sample if I wanted to do that. If I want to borrow the book, I can just hit borrow right here. Let's touch it again. Touch the borrow key. Now, one thing that you need to know is that up here, it says you're borrowing the Midnight Library for 14 days, but I can have it for longer. I can borrow it for 21 days. Now I hit borrow. So this brings us to the next thing that we get to do when we borrow a book. It says manage notifications. What does that mean? Well, they want to send me notifications. Well, I actually really appreciate notifications because they'll tell me when my loan is about to expire. I don't care if it's already expired. If it's expired, it's done. It'll tell me when a hold is ready. It tells me when a hold is getting ready to lapse, like if I've forgotten to go to my holds and check out the books. If the hold is lapsed, too late. And it will notify me about books by the same author or more books in a series. All right, so there we go. Now let's go to our bookshelf. The stack of books is your bookshelf. What this says to me here is that I have one book checked out. But now how do I read the book? Well, I have to go read with Kindle. In order to get the book, Libby and our library have an arrangement with Amazon that you get your books from the Amazon borrowing thing. This doesn't mean you're paying for them. All the books are free as long as you're borrowing them from the library. And so I'm just going to use my touch screen to check into Amazon. And then this is the final important part. You have to touch Get Library Book. There we go. And now I can go done, and I'm done. But where's the book? Well, now the book is in my Kindle app, which I already have loaded on there. So then I go and I touch the Kindle app. Now you're seeing the book that I happen to be reading right now. But to stop reading that book, I go to this down-facing arrow here, and this is what's in my library that I already have borrowed. And you can see it'll tell you all the ones that you've already read and checked out and that sort of thing. So if I want to read The Midnight Library, all I do is I select it and it opens up. And then for me, oh, you know what? Because I've already read this book, it thought that I was done. But let me just put it back to the first page. Sorry. So I just swipe like that. And here I am. I've got the table of contents, and here's the beginning of the book. Now, there are some wonderful things that you can do while you're reading in the Kindle app. And one of them is you can make the font bigger. Another thing is you can change what kind of font you read with. I don't like a font like that because I don't like all the serifs, all the little loopy business. So I always just choose Helvetica, which is a really clean font. The other thing that you can do is you can click the 3 dots and you can find out more about this book. You can go to a specific page. But one nice thing is that if you're reading the book in your Kindle app and you also are reading in the Kindle app on your smartphone, it will always just sync you to the furthest page that you've read. Now, because as I mentioned, I had already read the book, it just synced me to the end. So that's just a little bit about that. If I want to switch between books, I touch the down arrow again, and then I go back to the book that I was reading before, and now I'm back in this book. I don't like how big that font is. I'm going to make that font smaller. That's pretty good. And the other thing that you can do, you probably already know this, but if there's a word like, say, florid, and you don't know what that word means, you just touch it and you get the dictionary that pops up and defines it. There's also a Wikipedia entry, and if it is a non-English phrase, you might get a translation. So I think that we're close to the end of the lesson. The one thing that we haven't talked about is what are these 3 lines. This shows you which libraries you have cards with. And then if you look at this thing that looks like a clock, it's the calendar, it's the timeline. It tells you how many days left you have on the loan. So I borrowed it on April 24th, and I have 21 days left. So I think that that's just about everything that you would need. Oh, except how do you return a book? Okay. I'm going to go back to my bookshelf, and then I did that by going to the books, and then I'm going to touch Manage Loan. Well, let's suppose I discovered I've already read this book. I'm going to return it early, so I just go to Return Early, and then I hit Return. One thing that is etiquette about using digital books, as it would be with regular books, is that as soon as you're done, you should read them, because then they can be loaned out to someone else. So another nice feature here is that when you do that, it will, if you go find your next read, it'll take you back to other books. So I think that's about it. This video will be posted on Facebook. I might also put it on YouTube. And the other thing is that Libby itself has a wonderful help section. And so if you just scroll through, you will find so many wonderful things that you can look at. Books in many languages, various kinds of books. Libby is just an amazing way to get library books at home. So I hope that inspired you and helped you. Have a great day and go to the library.